Secularism is one of the most misunderstood concepts, especially in our country, and Ayodhya's Ram Mandir reconstruction as well as our Prime Minister being present there has raised the debates again. Is India truly secular? Let us try to understand that. Hello everyone, welcome to Vajram and Ravi's Flash News. My name is Shubhangi Singh and today we are going to talk about secularism that is present in India. How, why it is different from Western secularism, and how we have seen over the years that involvement in religious events cannot be seen as non-secular. So let us start with understanding what exactly secularism is and what has happened as of now. So recently the construction of Ayodhya Ram Mandir has been completed and there was hoisting of saffron flag that has taken place on November 25th where our Prime Minister was present. So this event marked the completion of the temple construction, and as soon as the hoisting of the saffron flag, the Dhwajarohan happened, there have been debates that how political leaders' role should be, especially in religious functions, when it is especially our Prime Minister, what is India's unique secular model and how it has been managed, and there has been a lot of comparison with the Western model of secularism as well. All in all, there has been one major important fundamental question, the fact that is Indian secular system which is present, it is supposed to be neutral or non-participatory. So before we get into the answers, understanding of that, let us understand what exactly is secularism. So when we are talking about secularism, we have to understand it dictates the relationship between the state and religion which is present in the country, and the idea of secularism is that the relation should be such that they should not be affecting each other. In this very context, there are two large models that are present across the globe. The first one is the Western secularism and the second one that we get to see in our country is the Indian secularism. So let us start with Western secularism first to understand that how it operates. So this model is based on the idea of separation, that there will be clear line of separation, and that is why it is also known by the name as the separation model of secularism. So there is a clear wall that distinguishes, keeps church on one side and state on the other side, and that is why state remains strictly neutral, non-associated, non-participatory with any sort of religious matters. Religion is confined to a private sphere, it is not to be dealt by the state in Western model of secularism. Now this has happened because this whole feature has evolved because over the years, especially in countries like US and France, that we have seen multiple fights over the year and brutal ones between the church as well as the state. So that is why we get to see that this separate model has been created. If we talk about US, we clearly know that Congress will not pass any law which has any relation to establishment of religion. France, it is very clear that religious symbols are not allowed in public schools. State does not participate in religious ceremonies, and there are multiple reasons that this has happened. Now the whole idea in the Western model of secularism is very plain and simple, the fact that state will not either endorse or interfere in religion. State stands on the one side and religion stands on the other side. Now as I said that we get to see different version in India. So when we are talking about the Indian model of secularism, this is where we are not going to put a wall between state and religion. This separation does not exist in India, but there is a regulated engagement. That means the state can reform religions, they can work on the temple entry, they can abolish the untouchability which was associated to religion, they can support religions, how pilgrimage related facilities, transportation, subsidies can be given, and also participate in multi-faith events which are associated. So the whole idea, the core principle that you find here is Sarva Dharm Sambhav. That means all religions can be present together and all religions must be respected. So instead of disengaging in the Indian model of secularism, the idea is to be present but to be neutral and if you want to be giving, equally giving to the religion. And the reason that we get to see for the difference, especially in Indian model of secularism, is the fact for 2000 plus years now we have seen multiple religions coexisting in our country. There is a diverse social fabric which exists, and this requires state mediation. If state will stay aloof, then the mediation, the facilitation that is required will not happen. So in this situation, state is very much present, but it will be present in a neutral form. It will not be absent like it is present in the Western model of secularism. Now that we have established and we have a fair idea that what Indian model of secularism looks like, now let us move to understand that what are the constitutional provisions which talk about secularism in our country. We will be talking about landmark judgments as well, because this is where we will get the clarity on secularism. Because as I said, because there is non-clarity, there is a lot of misunderstanding related to secularism itself. So when we are talking about constitution, the first mention you will find in the preamble itself. However, this was not present in the original constitution. It was later added through 42nd Amendment of 1976. The word secular was added. But at the same time, I would like to re-emphasize, the spirit of constitution was such that even though the word was not mentioned, this was imbibed. If you look at the key articles, be it article 14, 15, 16, 25, 26, 27, 28, all of them which were present in the original constitution, they clearly show that there is clear presence of state and religion, but in the neutral ground. For example, if we talk about article 25, it talks about a fundamental right which gives you the freedom of religion, either be it for practicing, professing or propagating. Article 26 talks about the management of religious institutions. Article 27 talks about no taxation for promotion of any religion. So we get to see that yes, state is involved, but the whole idea is again to keep it neutral. If it is engaging, if it is promoting, it is available for all religions. If it is not, then it is not available for none. Other than that, we also have constitutional provisions in article 29 and 30 where we get the minority rights, and even the DPSPs, especially article 44 which talks about uniform civil code. That means religious laws can be altered into a simple code which will be applicable to all citizens, and that will be done by state only. This is a contentious point that we have seen in recent times, but this shows that state has legit involvement with constitutional provision in terms of religion. Apart from that, this also has been validated with multiple landmark judgments, be it the S.R. Bomenai case of 1994, where the basic structure, this whole doctrine was brought in Keshwananda Bharati case. Can you tell me in the comment section which year this particular SC judgment came out? And the secularism was added in the part of basic structure in this particular case. That means government cannot promote any religion. Then again in Aruna Roy versus Union of India in 2002, Indian secularism was clearly defined as positively tolerant but not atheistic. That means it does not mean that you will remain out of it, but there will be positive tolerance that will be maintained. Another important case of 1994 during just after S.R. Bomenai, Ismail Farooqi case, where religious places, Supreme Court clearly held that they are not immune from state regulation for public order. If in regards to public order, religious places would be required, then they have to comply to the law and order which has been given by the state. So there is enough to understand that it goes both ways. It is not that involvement of state is to succumb the religion. Religion has also been given enough priority through fundamental rights, but at the same time they are not being separated. This is the key idea that I want to establish here. Now then, we are talking about the debate that is in front of us. We need to understand as a representative of the government, if the particular person involved here has been part of multiple events across the religion, then it cannot be taken as anti-secularism, because it fits into the idea of Indian secularism, where PM has been participating across the religions. You can tell me your thoughts on this in the comment section, that what do you think about it? How do you think of the idea of the Indian secularism, and what are your thoughts on this particular debate as well? Now on this note that we have had a fair discussion on that, we should also get into understanding that why Indians or India cannot follow the Western model of secularism. I mentioned this very in the start itself, that there has been barely the church versus state fight, especially in India's past. For 2000 plus years, we have seen mutual coexistence of multiple religions, and this gives a clear social context as well. Because the religions which are present in our country, apart from the diversity, they are clearly intertwined with the social customs as well. So if there are interventions which need to be done to bring in reforms, then the social customs need to be changed, and that will affect the religion also. And we are very clear in this term for India. Other than that, the demographic diversity. When we are talking about the society that we have, it is highly plural, and it needs state in between to make sure that this plural society does not go towards becoming a chaotic society. And this is where constitutional vision is also coming in handy, where constitution clearly allows reform and also support to the religion, unlike West, which talks about absenteeism. So this model fits the requirement of India, and that is why Indian secularism will always remain very different from what Western secularism looks like. Now on this note, I will be concluding on the fact that Indian secularism is unique. It has been made as per the need and what the characteristic of our society looks like, and the participation of our PM in religious events is not a departure. There have been multiple PMs who have been part of multi-faith events. You can give your examples on thoughts on this particular topic. That was all for today. Thank you so much.